I'm very excited. Most of you have met Dan Elzer already. Dan's on the call with us today, and we had Dan in twice. One at the end of last year and one at the beginning of this year, and we were talking about the listing presentation. He did a great job explaining a new and different way to handle listing presentation. We want to go a little bit deeper with that today and do a follow-up. So Dan, if it's okay, I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
Well, thank you, sir. Hang on, I got too many things going on on my computer here. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for attending and the opportunity again to see you guys. I'm sad that I didn't get to come see in person. I really enjoyed working with you guys. And Tammy, you shared your screen, just so you know. I don't think you meant to. So I will be, there you go. I will be sharing my screen here in a second. Now, here's what I want you guys to do. Take some notes, have a paper. It's being recorded, as Jeff already said. And then as soon as we're done, I will forward to Jeff a PDF of the slides. So that'll give you an opportunity to go back and kind of look at your notes, look at the slides, and go from there. But let me share here. I'll get this right. Can you guys see mine? Okay, good. So, dominate the listing market in the new economy. Now, as you guys know me, if you've seen me in front of you, those of you who didn't see me, I'm pretty direct about life. I try to cut through the noise and get to the point. And so this morning is going to be no different. We are in an opportunity that I think is like no other for agents that have a plan, that are proactive, and take action. What I'm finding all over the nation with all the different companies that I work with is we have a large portion of agents that are in what I call survival mode instead of a growth mode. And that creates problems. So I want to get started here with a little saying I keep hearing. Dan, there's just no listings out there. And I always go, there's always listings. Well, you know, it's really bad right now. It's really bad. So please write this down. As a real estate professional, there is never a buyer or seller's market. It's always an equal market. The term seller market, buyer market only applies to the consumer. And here is why. We cannot earn a commission unless there is a listing and a buyer. As soon as you fall into the trap of, well, it's a seller's market, so I'm working with buyers because there are a bunch of buyers out there, you have completely missed the bus. Because whenever we always seem to run to where there's more people, what we don't do an analysis as business is, okay, if there's 10 buyers for every one listing, I'm going to go work with buyers. No, you have a 10% chance of earning a commission. If there's 10 buyers and one listing, I want to go get the listing because I have a 100% chance of earning a commission if I price it right, versus 1 in 10 chance and multiple offers. And what do I say? How do I do this? All those things become a challenge to the buyer side of the business. So we have to start to get balance. Now, the reason I said started with this is a quick little story. My sister, one of my sisters, I got a bunch of sisters, but one of them has a girlfriend. Her name's Laura. She moved from Orlando to Oklahoma. And my sister called me and said, hey, would you take a call from Laura? She has a real estate question. I'm like, sure. I mean, I know the woman. Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I get on the phone with her and she said, hey, Dan, I've been out here almost a little over 6 months. She goes, I'm renting in this subdivision. I love the subdivision. And I want to buy here in the subdivision. And she brought up, looking at Zillow and Realtor.com and people reaching out to her and how to handle that. And it all came down to where she said the couple agents that she ended up talking to told her there's no inventory in her subdivision, and then proceeded to try to take her out of the subdivision and show her homes that fit her need from a house perspective, but not a location perspective. And she got irritated. And she said, I really feel like all they care about is making a commission. And I said to her, I said, I'm sorry, but that happens. And she said, well, here's why I was upset. She said, I want to live in this subdivision. And every agent I talked to said there's no inventory. She goes, so Dan, this past weekend, I put on a mask and I walked the neighborhood and just knocked on doors and talked to people. And I found 2 people wanting to sell. Guys, how embarrassing is that for a real estate community? When the buyer goes, please find me a house, there aren't any, okay, I'll do it myself. And in one weekend, a novice, a civilian finds 2 listings. Now, I didn't interrupt her yet. She goes, the first one I found, they let me come in the house and look around, and it just didn't fit me. And I felt horrible. And I told them, guys, I'm so sorry, but it's not really the floor plan I was looking for. She goes, but the second one is perfect for me. I wanted to ask you, what do I do next to buy it? When a buyer has to go do the agent's job to find their house, we have gotten passive. We have gotten reactive. We have gotten too comfortable waiting to get fed leads and stuff instead of doing our job. Now, according to NAR, they do surveys. Somewhere between 75 and 85% of agents interviewed are buyer-centric versus listing-centric, meaning when they're asked, when you wake up in the morning, does your to-do list and does the activities and behaviors you do, are they to find listing opportunities, or are they to manage leads, find leads, and or wait for leads? And they find the overwhelming majority are lead-driven agents, leaving this little 15, 20% group of agents that go after listings. This is why I tell people there's always listings. What we don't have is agents that know how to or desire to go find them anymore. Now, I'm smacking you right in the forehead on purpose because I was embarrassed as a member of our industry to hear a buyer have to go and look for her own house and then think even worse of our industry, because she said, I found 2 houses. They told me there were none. They're obviously only looking for a commission. So I've been sharing this with every one of my customers because shame on us that happened. So now moving forward, now you can say to this to me, you can go, Dan, that was Oklahoma. That's not Cleveland. Garbage, guys. It's everywhere. I mean, we can fool ourselves, but it's everywhere. So moving forward, I just believe you have 2 positions that you can take. The first choice is to be reactive. And in being reactive, it's waiting for someone to tell you how to do it or how to operate, or here's the next opportunity. That is a passive approach, and that will have a mediocre livelihood with an occasional blip of good business and an occasional blip of scariness. That's where most people fall. Or in this new economy, this new opportunity, you can go out and make things happen. So I want you to be the latter, the proactive, on-purpose person. So to do that, I want to prepare you for this. And to prepare you for it, I want you to think about real estate 2.0. Mark Cuban from Shark Tank coined the phrase America 2.0. He said, in the era of COVID, no matter how well we get back to normal, there always will be a difference. We will not get back to complete normalcy because of COVID, so 2.0 exists. If you create your 2.0 approach to the marketplace, by golly, you're going to dominate. But if you don't do it or wait for others to do it, you will be lagging the marketplace. So I want you to think about what is Agent Inc.'s 2.0 approach to this marketplace. Keep in mind that in doing your 2.0 plan, you must remember there's a wide range of emotion here. And just a quick visual for you, I'd like for you to draw a line on the piece of paper that you have, vertical line like this, or horizontal line. On the left side, I want you to put this, paralysis. On the right side, I want you to put this is stupid. Now, everybody that you run into, everyone on this Zoom call, everyone around you, your family and friends, falls somewhere on this chart as it pertains to the fear of COVID in their mind. Some people are in the middle, uncertain. Some people are paralyzed, and others lean towards, why are we doing this? I think this is stupid. Here's why this is important. Each and every one of us falls on this somewhere. And if we're not conscious about it, we will transmit to people we talk to our position on this line. Example, I have a client who said this to me: Dan, I am empathetic of the people who are scared. So I walk up to people and I go, hey, I'll hold my hand out and say, I'm shaking hands. If that's something that bothers you, I understand, and I appreciate and respect that. And I said, do you really think that's a healthy way to do it? And she goes, what do you mean? I said, if I'm paralyzed and scared, and you just said, I'm already shaking everyone's hand, do you want to shake my hand? What did you really tell everybody? And what you told everybody was, I'm a disease-carrying fool if I'm on the paralysis side. So now all of a sudden, I don't want to do business with you because you are tone deaf. But if I go crazy on the paralysis side as a professional and I run into someone that thinks it's stupid, they might be afraid to work with me. Folks, we cannot sacrifice the marketplace because of our own ignorance or our failure to be socially aware. So a bad question in today's world is, how are you doing? Everyone's going to tell you fine. An amazing question is this. Let me ask you, how has COVID affected you and your family? Now, I came up with that question for this reason. I've got a friend of 35 years that's on the this is stupid side. I know him. We're best friends. Hadn't seen him in 2 weeks. We go play golf. Golf was an essential thing in Florida. When I get there, the guy's got a mask, sanitary wipe in his hand, stays 10 feet away from me, opens the door for us to go get beer, putting his mask on with the sanitary wipe. And I'm like, wow, this is not the behavior I expect from Ron. We get to the first hole. It was just the two of us in separate carts. Instead of me being a jerk or socially unaware and going, what's the matter with you, man? What's this mask about? I was a smart, socially aware person. And I said, hey, Ron, let me ask you, how's COVID affected you and your family? And I learned something. He goes, Dan, he goes, I don't know if you knew this. He goes, but my wife has a blood disorder and she is big time immune compromised with the drugs she takes. Now, this guy runs the mortgage corporation for a large bank throughout the state of Florida. So he touches and meets a lot of people. He goes, I'm scared to death that I will catch this and bring it home and kill my wife. Let that sink in for a second. I'm not trying to be dramatic. Here's a guy that I would have put on the right side of this chart who is slammed on the left side, not because he's afraid, but he's afraid he'll be a carrier and kill his wife. Do you realize the motivations and changes in him because of that? If you approached him improperly, could you do business with him? See, what everyone is looking for is a way to cope. How can I cope with the current situation? How are you doing? The people paralyzed are embarrassed sometimes to say, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. So they say, I'm fine. The people on the right side might say, you know what? I don't want to tell people I'm being a jerk. So I'm like, I'm fine. And you as a professional have no idea how to engage and work with them without looking tone deaf. So I really need everybody to make sure somebody needs to mute. I need everybody to be aware and have a good question and engagement so you know where to meet that person and not lose that opportunity. If we're going to dominate in the listing marketplace, I can tell you from other clients, until we got this right, people were getting silence, radio silence, or not right now, or we need to think about it out of some of the sellers they were talking to. When they got this right, those same people said, yes, I'll list my house. And there's a reason for it. So your 2.0 plan has to take into consideration the wide range of emotions and become the mechanism that they need to be able to cope in today's world. Market outlook. Amazing, guys. The economy and the recovery. I study this stuff from the 87 crash, the 97 recession, the 2000 tech bubble, the 2008 financial crisis, and today. Every single time the federal government has put stimulus into the marketplace. The Fed, along with Congress, with stimulus, has stimulated our economy with over $10 trillion. It's 30% more on a dollar cost average, time value of money. It's 30% more than we've done in any other recovery. And it's done faster and ahead of time than any other recovery. If you look at the graph of real estate after that stimulus money and the Federal Reserve putting liquidity in the market, real estate took off every time. I opened my company. I got in the business in 87. We had the crash. I opened in 88. By 89, we were screaming. 97 came, we went down, we screamed into 2000. The tech bubble came, we went down, we screamed into the financial crisis. And once we cleared out the REOs, we took off again into COVID. You have a great opportunity to have an amazing marketplace for the next 12 to 18 months if you have a plan and you execute. The competition's on their heels. Companies that didn't run properly, these disruptive brands and people out there, they didn't make money in the heyday. They're losing money like crazy now. They're really not competition anymore. So there's fewer people trying to gain access to our marketplace. But the customer just wants us to be aware and do our job. For Laura to have to find her own house is embarrassing. Just think how many customers want to sell but won't talk and come out and ask. And think of how many buyers that are real that want to buy that are told there's nothing where you want to buy, so they're waiting when there's really something that's there. The customer just wants us to go do our job, which is proactive. So listings, still the name of the game, hasn't changed. If you don't have a balanced approach in today's world of listings or a listing lean to the business, you will have some inconsistent behaviors in your income. And this is the big reason why. Buyers will be getting more and more difficult. That gentleman I talked to you about, he runs Mortgage Corporation for the bank for the state of Florida. So he actually has conversations with Freddie and Fannie. He knows what's going on. So I pick his brain constantly. And already in different marketplaces throughout the United States, they have put tighter clamps on underwriting. The Fannie and Freddie are actually thinking about changing underwriting guidelines because he was on a conference call with them. And so what that means is because of 40 million people unemployed, the secondary market is saying, you better really make sure that this person's going to continue to have a job. So he said more and more they're being pushed to re-verify buyers' ability to maintain their income all the way up to closing. So how does that affect us in real estate? You, if you are not a balanced agent, already have a lower percentage of success working with buyers for two reasons. One, not every buyer is real. They pretend to be real and then they don't follow through. Two, you have multi-offer situations where you might lose. So you go on the buyer's side, those two things could happen to you where you think you did everything right and didn't get paid. Throw in there now, I've got Mark fully qualified, but they re-verify with his company last minute with the question that goes like this: can you certify ongoing employment of this individual for the next 12 months? And Mark's company is afraid to say yes because it's a federal form. And they go, I'm not saying we're laying them off, but I can't guarantee continued employment. They'll pull that approval on Mark at closing. Now you did everything right and didn't get paid. But if you look at the listing side, if you will go get the listings, remember, there's only 10, 15% of people trying. If you go get the listings, if Mark does fail, right behind Mark is the next person that will buy. What it boils down to is understanding the marketplace and knowing how to set expectations with buyers and sellers. So please make this note. Mike Staver, many of us have said to you when I was in front of you, treatment before diagnosis is malpractice. We treat very quickly before we diagnose. A consumer that does not understand or is not paying attention to 40 million people unemployed, they got pre-qualified, not a full credit qualify, and all of a sudden they're getting hassled during the contract to do more and more verifications. We've all had it happen as agents, and the buyer gets mad at us and the bank. Are they stupid? They keep asking the same questions. What's going on? Shame on me for not setting the expectation before we began the process. In the initial buyer appointment should be an education process where I ask questions. Galileo, let me ask you, Jeff, are you aware of how many people are unemployed currently? And if Jeff goes, I know it's a lot, I go, it's over 40 million. Can you see how that might be scaring the real estate mortgage market that many people are unemployed? Yeah. Because of that, mortgage companies have stricter rules to verify multiple times. So I just want you to be ready for them to ask the same question multiple times. It's not a mistake. They have to do it. Now I set the expectation. 2 days before closing, Jeff gets hit with, we need this re-verified. He doesn't go into an emotional wreck. He doesn't yell at me as an agent. He actually looks at me and goes, Dan, you're pretty smart. They did exactly what you said they were going to do, and I was prepared for it. It is our job in our 2.0 to make sure people are ready. Same thing on the seller side. Have I prepared the seller that I am the best agent to represent them because I know what's going on in the market? If you go with an agent that's not aware of the changes in underwriting and the scrutiny of buyers, you could accept a deal where that pre-approval wasn't solid enough and cost you the sale. I understand the market, Mr. Seller. I'm going to make sure that everyone we get is scrutinized and you have your eyes wide open when you accept the deal. This is the level of professionalism. And I end on this slide with the agent that can set those expectations and solve problems will win the day every time. Because the consumer wants to know that you are the expert. That's the number one thing they tell NAR when they ask, who do you want to work with? I want an expert. And right now with COVID and changes in what I just explained, your expertise should be in the marketplace, not just where the schools are and how many, what the traffic count is here or the crime rates, right? No, the marketplace is as important as well. So with that as your base knowledge for creating your 2.0, we need to get inventory before the rest of the world wakes up or before all the Lauras of the world go out and find it themselves. It's time for us to go dominate this market. So the listing income chain has not changed. We still have to make contacts, have the ability to ask for the appointment and prepare for it, be able to sit in someone's house or virtually sit with them and use skills and technique to present a value proposition that makes Russell better than anyone else, protects our commission, gets our price right. Then we put it out to list. We follow through on our promises of our value proposition, gaining exposure, leveraging all the products and services that we have to get somebody to enter into a negotiation or multiple people to come to a meeting of the minds on a sale, run that contract to close and get paid. That still has to happen. What I want you to think about is what changes in each link because of the new economy. How do we change? I don't know about you, but I can call Home Depot and they'll bring my order to my car now. I just push the button on my Jeep Cherokee and it opens up in the back. They load up all the stuff I want. I push the button, I drive away. Before COVID, if I'd have called Home Depot and said, will you send someone out with my stuff and put it in my car? They would have gone, no. But they adapted. They adapted to the new economy and they offer a service that has caused their stock to go crazy while other retail stocks aren't. What is Agents 2.0 in each one of these links to make sure that you are servicing the customer where they are today so you can go get all the listings while everyone else wonders what happened? So contacts, what are my contacts? I'll get into some talk tracks for you here in a second. We have other webinars coming down the pike that I'll get into some other techniques with you. Appointment, do I know how to close and prep for that appointment? And how do I go about the presentation? So I want to start with contacts and appointments. When I'm done, we'll have a Q&A, by the way. And don't be shy when it comes to Q&A. So contacts and appointments. What I want you to write down here is you don't have to be an expert at every way to prospect. Another thing that gets in our head is we think we have to be experts at prospecting. We don't have to be experts at prospecting. We only have to be an expert at one way of prospecting. So what fits your needs, what fits your personality, what are you willing to skill yourself at to be able to do that? That's what you do. Then the appointment, we have to make sure that we can close for the appointment. Now, pre any of this activity, I want to give you a pre-work scenario, prep work, if you will. I worked at a pizza shop when I was in school, and I'd have to come in early and make dough. And we had to cook the cheesesteak and separate it into individual bags so we had it weighed out right. If we didn't do the prep work and we got busy Friday night, we ran out of stuff, it was bad. When we did prep right, man, things went easy. Same thing here in real estate. Here's the 3 areas I want you to be prepped as you start every day. The night before, I want you to have your to-do list made out. There are 2 types of lists. There's a to-do list and there's a list of things to do. A list of things to do is a data dump from your brain of everything that you don't want to forget. A to-do list is a finite number of activities that you will complete in a day. A to-do list also has when you'll start work, when you'll end work. So it's very, very structured. And you make sure that you don't put down more than you can accomplish in the day that you're going into. And again, it's done the night before. The second area of prep is, what are my talk tracks? If I'm going on a listing appointment, do I have my talk tracks down? If I'm going to prospect, do I have my talk tracks down? If I'm going to be talking to somebody that's upset or pushing back on a contract, do I have my talk tracks down? That is critical for me to function at a high level and not have to come off the cuff. Then the third thing is our attitude. And I want you to think about two things in attitude. When I'm prepping my attitude, I have to set my own expectations that things will not always go my way. So if I'm going to do these things on my to-do list, what can go sideways on me? What can go wrong? And be expecting it to go wrong. You know, this might not go so well. I might get rejected here. You know what I might call I'm calling my sphere, that's going to be my prospecting, and I haven't talked to them in years. What if I call Mark and he goes, oh, where have you been for the last 10 years? How am I going to deal with that? So as I prepare myself for the expectations, good, bad, and ugly, I will have the talk tracks and I will have thought through that. Then, after those expectations, I want to make sure that I am emotionally prepared to deal with each one of those. What if I call someone and they say, yes, they need me? What is my next act? What if I call and they're irritated? What am I going to do? So by having my attitude, my expectations set right, and my responses right, I can enter the day fully prepared that I won't run out of cheesesteak because it's a busy Friday night. So have that prep work done as well. Now, when we talk about prospecting and contacts, understand it's simply meet more people. Prospecting is not an elusive thing. It's just something we avoid because we're not ready to cope with it. We haven't set our expectations right. We don't have our talk tracks down, and therefore it feels weird, uncomfortable, and I have fear. All it is meeting people. Meet more people is one of my 10 laws I live by. I'm actually looking at my 10 laws here. Meet more people is number 9 of 10. And it states this in my laws. And by the way, they're laws, not suggestions. Meet more people means never let the sun go down without meeting someone that you didn't know the day before, and engage them in conversation to see if they have a need. If you do that every day, if you work 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, and you meet 250 new people and engage them, I promise you, you'll be rich. But we have to do that. That's just the way life is. So it's simply meeting more people. Now, get your pens ready. I'm going to give you some talk tracks. I'm going to give you some cool things you should be doing right now based on what's happening. Circle of influence, sphere of influence, whichever way you want to call it. Touching base and having the proper talk track. I didn't say to Ron, how you doing? I said, Ron, how has COVID affected you and your family? And I learned that his wife was immune compromised and he was scared he was going to kill her. That was a powerful thing. That was an intimate thing for me to learn. But I promise you, if I would have said, Ron, how you doing? He would have said, I'm good. And I'd sit there and go, then why are you're not a scaredy cat. What's going on? And I would have been tone deaf and probably improper in my next statement. How's COVID affected you and your family? So what if you called every single person in your sphere from an empathetic position with only caring about how it's affected them and their family? What are the odds that half of those people, after you show empathy to their family, ask you how your business is doing? Mark just smiled because he's a trainer. He knows more than 50% of those people, after you show empathy, will turn around and go, oh man, we're hanging in there. You know, really the family's well. No one's sick. Thanks a lot, Mark. Well, how's your business doing? Now, write this down. When they say, how is your business doing? You have to make it conversational and say something like this. You know what, Mark, it's been amazing. interest rates just fell again to one of the lowest that they've ever been. And we got a ton of people that want to live in the marketplace here. Now, as soon as I'm done with that, then I can simply say this. You know what, Mark? Maybe you can help me. Who do you know in the subdivision here who's thinking of selling? I start with empathy. They open up. They share intimate stuff with me. They ask how I'm doing. I go, I'm doing fabulous. With the market as hot as it is and interest rates falling again, we got a bunch of people that want to buy. We just don't have the inventory. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe you can help me out here. Who do you know in your sphere that's thinking of selling? That's all Laura did, guys. Laura walked around and asked that simple question and found 2 listings in a weekend. Actually, it was in one day. It wasn't even a weekend. One day, she found 2 people that wanted to sell. You can do it without getting out in the street and wearing a mask. You can do it by just touching all the people you know. And all of a sudden, you'll find opportunity. How's COVID affected you and your family? And then, hey, maybe you can help me. Who do you know in the marketplace that's thinking of selling so I can help these people out? Now, about, 4 days ago, I got a phone call, 800 number. I didn't take it. Then my email blinked and I looked up and it was American Airlines. I'm an executive platinum with them. And I look at the email and it was from the concierge services of American Airlines going, Mr. Elzer, we just reached out to you by phone. No sales call. We're just checking on our customers, making sure they're doing okay. If you have a minute, would you please call me back? And there was a number direct to one of the concierges. So I called back. Guess what she said to me? Mr. Elzer, I want to thank you for your past business. Again, we're not asking for business here. We're truly just checking on people. How has COVID affected you and your family? I about fell out of my chair. I have been teaching this for 45 days. An American calls me. So I told her, I said, this is what I do for a living. Who taught you that? And she said, actually, one of our concierges got approached by somebody asking that question, came to work, and we had a meeting, and we thought this would be an amazing way just to make sure our sphere is doing okay. Folks, if you don't do this, God, are you missing the boat? A second opportunity to go get business, cross promotion, giving back to the people around you. Everyone knows small business owners. They're trying to restart as well. Going to them and saying, hey, I believe in your product or service. I use it. You know me. Would you be open to cross promoting where we share each other's spheres and talk about each other's business? That will give them a leg up. That will give them a big smile on their face because they're panicked and worried about their business as well. It will give you an expanded number of people through a third party talking about you. We have a studio here in Orlando. Around the corner is San Jose's. It's one of the best Mexican restaurants around here. I know the owner there. We eat there a lot. As soon as they opened up 25% utilization of restaurants, he's used the studio. I've ate his food. I went over to him and said, hey, do you want to cross promote? He goes, what are you talking about? I said, you know the studio. I know your food. If we share our spheres, maybe we can get business for each other. He lit up like a candle, guys. He was like, that would be awesome. We've gotten business because of it, and he's gotten business because of it. What if you picked 3 of your most intimate relations to small business and offered to cross promote? What goodwill would that bring to you for reaching out to them? And what opportunity would follow by just doing that cross promotion? Cross promote, talk to your base. I promise you will have opportunity. Once you get them on the phone, this is why you got to have your 2.0 plan to be able to communicate it when people have a need, so they don't feel or go lights out on you because they're worried. You can ask the right questions, offer the right protocols in your services for people to feel safe and be able to cope. But for this to happen, you have to close, guys. The other thing that's happened to us through COVID and also through the decade of technology, lead gen, and all that is we've lost the art of asking for the appointment. So if you make another note, to get an appointment, the best closing technique is an alternative choice close. That's where Mark's on the phone and he gives me any kind of opportunity. Hey, I was thinking, or I know about, or we might be doing. I hear an opportunity, I'll go, Mark, that is awesome. Would it be okay if we got together on Wednesday, or would Friday be better? And we can talk about this. Stop solving problems over the phone. Start setting an appointment to solve problems. That is a critical difference between a highly skilled salesperson in any industry and people that just get by. Soon as there's an opportunity, instead of solving it on the phone that then turns into radio silence later, email that doesn't work, he has a need. Mark, I'd love to talk with you about that. If I'm able to meet him in person, hey, would it be okay if I came by? I've got some time on Thursday afternoon, or would Saturday morning be better for you? He goes, you know what? The weeks are jammed, but Saturday, not too early would work. I said, I got a 10 a.m. slot. Yeah, let's do that. I'm now in his house talking to him about his problem, not on the phone. So we have to close for that appointment in that link series, whether I'm closing for a virtual presentation or interview, or I'm closing for an in-person one. If I don't ask for the opportunity, it will try to kind of happen in the current conversation and end up without a solution. Once we have that appointment, we move to that presentation link. Now, in that presentation link, how will you present? Now, I know that you guys are essential. I know that you have opportunity. I can see you, Mark, in my side pane there. Can we go live presentations at houses right now? Yes? Shake. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So, but we still have some people that are scared. So if I'm creating my 2.0 plan, I'm going to have access to a virtual platform that I know how to utilize, I know how to interact with, that I can offer up if there is a concern, but I will also know that I'm allowed to come over. So I might close for the appointment and then say, may I share with you our 2.0 protocols for COVID? And they say yes. And I say, I just want you to be aware, folks, that when I show up, and whatever your protocols are, guys, I've got too many clients to remember. I know them, but I don't remember yours exactly, but I know you guys have them. I will be showing up with a mask, gloves, and booties on, or I can take my shoes off. I will have sanitized with hand sanitizer before I come in the door. We will limit our engagement and me touching anything. And would that be would that be of comfort for you, or would that be acceptable to you? I have to share my protocol so they go, I can invite this person in my house and not fear. Then they go, no problem, Dan, that would be great. So know how I present and what my protocol is. If you're on the this is crazy side of it and you're like, I ain't wearing a mask, guys, you can be yourself at home. You can't be yourself and serve the public, because you will alienate most of the public being you. So make sure that you understand the public so you can meet them at their comfort level, their coping mechanism, because this is how we make our living, not how we live our life. Okay? Separate those two thoughts in your head. Then we got to stay in control. Now, this is a reiteration of what I've shared with you before in person, but man, it is critical that you get this down. So I get to the house, I can't walk the house. If I go tour the house, I will get interviewed. If I get interviewed, I'm on my heels and I don't give a value proposition. Then they'll argue commission and price with me. If I take control, sit them at the kitchen table, build some rapport, then I can simply say, Mark, I want to thank you again for the opportunity to be here in your home. And I'm going to get into my listing appointment methodology. And it begins with opening my Russell tablet, book, whatever, and simply saying, Mark, would it be okay if I explain to you how I work? They will lean in, say yes, and treatment before diagnosis is malpractice. This is setting the stage and creating the diagnosis for them to tell how they feel, what they want, what they're looking for. So first thing I want to do, Mark, is ask you some questions, identify what your needs are. From there, I'm going to present to you our marketing action plan. This is how we get houses sold and closed in this new economy. And there's some really important things I'll be sharing with you on that. At that point, we'll get up and preview your home. I need you to point out all those important features and benefits so I can appreciate your home as much as you do. And then we'll come back and we're going to go through pricing strategies. And I'll explain how we can position your home to get maximum value for you. Then I'm going to go through getting your home prepared for sale. I want to answer any of your questions, share with you what we're going to do to make your house the best house on the market. Then we should have enough information to make a mutual decision. If you're comfortable with me and you like what I shared, simply tell me yes, I'll go to work for you. But if you have any concern whatsoever, please do me the favor of telling me no, and I'll get out of here. Is that fair enough for you? I have now played the part, and write this down again, taking control. I've become the doctor, they are the patient. If I let them take control, I'm the patient answering questions, they're the doctor. You never want the novice diagnosing the problem. So I have to maintain control. 2, it puts me in the position of professionalism. It looks like I've done this before. It looks like I have control of what's going on. The number one thing sellers have told NAR they're looking for is an expert. Be the expert. I turn to the next page. Now it's time to identify your needs. So why are you selling your home? We take active notes during this. Where are you moving? Have you begun to look for new homes in the new location? This tells me if they're already out there hunting. When would you prefer to have the house sold and closed? I always end with and closed. Then what drives that deadline? Now this is already giving me motivations, giving me needs, gives me other opportunities to ask questions. I'm taking notes. They are the hero of the day. Nowhere in here am I saying, I'm an amazing agent. I've done 80 gazillion billion dollars. I work for Russell, which is a great company. We belong to leading RE. You should list with us. No, that makes us the hero. This is making them the hero. What options will you have if your house hasn't sold by the deadline? I want to know if they're sitting in their back pocket with, we'll just rent the darn thing. Or I got a niece that's looking for a place. We're just going to let her rent it for a year and we'll try again next year. I want to know if there's a plan B. What's the most important thing that you're looking for in the agent and company you hire? That gives us core value again. And then what would it take for you to feel that I have met your expectations? Folks, if all I can do is get you to do everything I've said to this point, you will be in control. You will look more professional, more skilled than any other agent that's walked in their home or talked to them. You won't be tone deaf. You will actually hear people thank you. I've been using that COVID approach with everybody. I can't tell you how many people have said this to me. Dan, thank you. Thank you for not discounting us that are afraid. I know people think we're silly and stupid, but we're really scared. I've had people come right out and thank me that I didn't make them feel less than a person because they have a fear. This puts you in a whole different level of professionalism in front of your client. You will get more referrals from them. You will get better raving fans out of them. Now, once we do the identifying needs, we have to move into our presentation. And that presentation follows. It's already in your book. But here's the good news. If you ask these questions properly, you will know what things to turn to. So you don't want to spend time talking about something that doesn't matter to a seller. They'll go into polyphasic thought. Remember Charlie Brown's teacher, womp, womp, womp. If you only speak to the things that are important to them, then they will stay engaged through the whole thing. But if you go into things that are important to you, like yourself, like your past production, they didn't ask in what's most important to you in the company you hire. If they didn't say an agent that has a track record, and you spend 5 minutes talking about your track record, they're going to go, this person's bragging. I don't need a bragger. I got to make sure that I pay attention and respond to the needs that I've discovered through my diagnosis. So when I bring the treatment, I'm giving them the medicine that cures their problem. So with that, our next page is the 5 keys. What's cool about this is we get into price, terms, and condition. Wouldn't this be a great place, Mark, for us to talk about the change in the marketplace because of COVID? So not only is this important to you in the way we set and position your house, and that you as the seller are in control of those 3 things, but here are things out of both of our control. And we talk about the effect of COVID. Location, we can talk about that. I have to talk to my mortgage professional. You guys have a mortgage company. Here in Orlando, I just found out from my friend Ron, that we are being indicated a declining market, not because of price points going down, but because the number of unemployed, since we are a entrepreneurial town, lots of entrepreneurs. So what that did here in Orlando is cause all of the different levels of qualification to get bumped by 5% more down payment to be able to qualify. If you don't know that because of the location, then the seller will be caught off guard. So, and plus you might have a buyer agent that doesn't understand it if they haven't been following the marketplace and think they have somebody, and you're the one to find out, no, you don't have somebody. So this is a great place to get into that. Then our exposure can also talk about our protocols for people showing the house to make buyers feel comfortable. We're going to sanitize the house before people walk in. If you don't have a mask, we're providing you one. That's if you can get the stuff. But my point is, all this on this page not only gives us the ability to set them up for how we're going to present and what they're responsible for, but it also sets them up to understand all of those needs and precautions and expectations we should be setting. So with that, I want to open it up for some questions before I give you a challenge. I have a challenge for you that I hope you take me up on. So you can ask a question in chat or unmute and fire away.
I have a question, Dan. Thank you for spending your morning with us. I appreciate that. This is Libby Tenaglia out of the Brexville office. I would like to know what questions you would ask, if you're representing the seller, what questions would you ask the buyer's lenders because we go into multiple offer situations regularly here in Cleveland. And I want to know what I really should be asking these lenders when I'm vetting these buyers for my sellers, so that I know my sellers are getting the best, most solid buyer that's going to have that, be able to answer that, are you going to be working in 12 months kind of question.
Yep. Excellent question, Libby. I always lived by this, but I think it's more critical today. I was a listing agent. After I sold my company, I went and listed, and that's all I did. Didn't work with any buyers, just listed. I required, because I educated my seller, that any buyer that came to see the house or submit an offer had a credit approval. And you can talk to your mortgage division about this, the mortgage company you guys work with. But there's pre-approval and credit approval. Pre-approval is where they've interviewed the person and they're in the process of verifying. Credit approval is where they've pulled a merged credit file and are already verifying. All too often, when I've had to deal with crisis at closing, it was because something popped up that should have been looked at before we even accepted the deal, to only find out that their approval letter, if we read towards the bottom of it, said subject to verifying the information above. So if you're telling me that this person can buy, but we haven't looked at their credit, we haven't looked at their job, we haven't looked at their money, we haven't looked at anything, all we did is took their word for it over the phone, I put my seller in jeopardy. So I would put in my realtor notes, I would let everybody know that the seller expects a full credit approval, that your buyer has made full application, has authorized a merged credit file before we're going to seriously consider you. Now you have to talk to your seller for that directive. I can't be the person saying that unless the seller wants me to say that. And it never failed me when I informed the seller of the dangers of taking somebody with pre-approval instead of credit approval, because that's like taking someone off the street that said, trust me, I can buy your home. So those are the questions I asked Libby to the mortgage. I always called the processor, never the mortgage originator, because they're salespeople off getting another deal. I would ask, the mortgage company, who's your underwriter? I would call and say, hi, this is Dan with Russell Real Estate. We're looking at the Smiths that you guys have a pre-approval on. And I just want to know, has any verifications been done, and have you pulled credit yet? If they go, Smith, no, they just turned that into me. I just got the file. I'll start working on it next week. Okay. Now, that there is risk that they lied and nothing might come through. So if the seller goes, yes, we'll take that offer, and it falls apart, you're the hero because you've warned them. Okay. If you take it and you didn't inform them, you look bad. Now, a lot of people would say to me, Dan, you don't understand this. Guys, I'm 32 years in the business. I understand it. Not only did I make it clear in my marketplace and the buyer agents knew. But after a couple of rotations with me as the listing agent, every buyer agent brought me credit approval only because they knew if they brought me anything else, I'd create grief for them.
Okay.
I forced them to do their job by knowing my expectations.
Excellent.
So I'm a passionate person about this because your life gets disasters whenever this happens. Your seller's life becomes a disaster when things fall apart. And I lose the opportunity for future business from these people whenever they don't think I can control things. So you hit one of my nerves. I'm a little passionate there. Anybody else?
Hey, Dan, this is Edith. Follow-up question to what you just said. So the letters that we get when offers are submitted, 99.9% of them say pre-approved.
Correct.
So what will the letter say if they're credit approved?
It will tell you that. It won't say that they have to verify everything. It will say this. Now it depends on, you got to talk to the mortgage companies. In my world, they said this. The purchaser is approved for either an amount of money or a range or whatever, subject to an appraisal, an inspection, and a septic or whatever. What that told me was credit-wise, they already looked at them. So the only thing that they're waiting for now is, does it appraise? Does the inspections come through? But whenever I saw subject to VOE, VOD, verification of employment, verification of deposit, credit, blah, blah, blah. When it was subject to everything, that means that mortgage company has done nothing.
Okay.
Now, Edith, where I put this is I always put it in the realtor notes going, you know, my seller is requesting that you have a credit approved buyer, not pre-approved. Call me if you have questions. And
Okay.
what you'll find is most buyer agents don't even know there's a difference. They think they really have a good buyer because some mortgage company called them and said, do you have a job? Yeah. Have you ever gone bankrupt? No. How much do you make? Gazillion dollars? You're good. Come in and make application. We'll get you started. And then they run off with an agent to find out they can't buy gum. How many people raise your hand if you've been in the business long enough and that's happened to you. Somewhere in there you go. The hands are going up. You know, this is a way for us to be better than the competition. And you know what? It's a winning difference in front of the seller when you can tell the seller, I understand this business and market better than anyone else. And I can be the one to give you the best chance on what's going to happen here.
So that'll be a good way to weed through all of the multiple offers that are coming in too, correct? Because a lot of them will say pre-approved. And if you see one that says credit approved, you know, that one is pretty much, they've gone through the process and the lender has looked at their income data and all of that.
Correct.
Okay.
Or at least, Edith, at least this has happened. They pulled that tri-merge file, and you know, most mortgage people will tell you if they get that merged file, those 3 reporting bureaus merged file, that's about 75% of approval rate there.
Okay.
Then there's a few. So if all they did was the merge file, I'm in better off shape than if they haven't done anything.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else?
Hey, Dan, it's Sandy Pinelli. I do have a quick question for you.
Sure.
The hardest thing for me in this market is to know how I am setting myself apart from an advertising perspective, because I guess
So you're
that's
kind of
my
marketing.
struggle, the marketing
Yes.
side.
Okay. So Sandy, what I want you to focus on is that the whole economy of the United States is going into 2.0. The way we interact with people has changed. My marketing would be using Galileo. I would ask a question. Are you working with an agent that understands the new marketplace? Are you, do you have questions about how COVID has affected the real estate transaction? If so, I have your answers. I would really lean on the fact that the world has changed and I kept up. Standard marketing, standard delivery methods are very crowded right now, so you don't stick out. The other thing that's working very well, if I haven't already told you guys this in past, is since the virus has hit, since social and email has really become flooded and kind of a numb thing for people, I have some customers that have gone to writing handwritten notes, little note cards to everyone in their sphere, 5 at a time a day. Just how are things? Boom, boom, boom. The markets have changed. If you have questions about real estate, or what has changed, I'm here for you. And sharing first, empathy, I hope all is well with you. And if you have any fears or concerns, I'm up to speed on what's changed. Those agents have come back to me saying, I'm getting more response from snail mail than anything else because that's not crowded. There's not a lot of noise in that arena, but there is a lot of noise in all the other arenas. Anyone else?
Hey, Dan, this is Tim Rhodes, just from Your Home Financial. Just want to go back to that pre-approval real quick for clarification. Keep in mind, guys, the reality of a pre-approval being 100% accurate is just not going to happen. But
Correct.
This is what is important, to have that built relationship with loan officers, understand what they do for you, how valid their pre-approvals are. I can only talk for Your Home Financial, but our pre-approval letters, in order for them to generate a pre-approval letter, we have to have the tri-merge pull. We have to run it through DU or LP, which is the automated underwriting thing. That has to be approved before a letter even generates. If it doesn't, if you don't see a pre-approval letter means, or if I see the pre-approval letter, we have generated and ran it through the system. Now, the reality is about verification of employment and assets. That is really the responsibility of your loan officer. And so that's why I'm back to building that good relationship with lenders that you're confident and are comfortable with, knowing that they did their due diligence and did their job. Because quite honestly, the banking world does not have time to verify everything for pre-approval. Our pre-approval conversion rate is not cost effective to verify everything on every pre-approval. They count on and rely on the originator for doing their due diligence and their job to get that done. So that's where you're going to get with Your Home Financial. And I just want to clarify that the true verification is still going to have to be done after the contract has been written. Just a little clarification on that.
Thank you, Tim. And guys, he hit on something very, very important. I do this all over the world, but here in the States, I get told all the time by people, but my mortgage company won't do that. They go get a contract, then we'll go into that cost and expense and hassle. We don't have the capacity to do it. That's what, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, that's the importance of having that relationship. When they know that you're an agent that has done your job and you're not throwing crap at them, you're really bringing people that you have vetted yourself, knowing that they're real, and now you're asking them to vet them. It is a worthwhile value proposition to their expense and capacity to do the job right. Always having those external verifications, as Tim said, but I am so much better off knowing that it's gone through the merged credit report and one extra step there, Tim, which I love, and running it through the automated underwriting. Your odds of failure there drop dramatically to someone that didn't do that. And if I don't respect and have loyalty to Tim, then he can't take his capacity and do it for me because I'm once in a blue moon and I send him garbage, when say Jim sends him only good people every time and is loyal to him. So I've got to make sure that I build a relationship with my mortgage professional so in kind we can respect each other and get the job done. So I owned a mortgage company, I have friends in it, and I understand they can't go lose money chasing bad people either. They got to know that the person that you bring to them has already been pre-vetted by you. Then they can put their efforts in and get to the finish line with you. Is that fair enough, Tim?
That is, Dan. And the only other thing that I promote at our weekly sales meetings is, again, looking at the dates of those pre-approvals. Again, if you're looking at an old pre-approval, we got to update those things prior to submitting the offer. When my realtors call me and say they're submitting an offer, I update the pre-approval. And by updating it means I'm rerunning it through DU that day in order to get that pre-approval to date for today's date. So it's up to the most recent guidelines into that information so we don't run into any hiccups or troubles once we're under contract. So look at the dates of the pre-approval is the other caution.
Any other question, folks? Okay, I'm going to give you a challenge. Write this down. Any listing appointment you schedule between now and 2 weeks, 5 p.m. on the 30th, if it's a bona fide, verifiable appointment, go to your manager and prove it. Managers, sorry to drop this on you. I want you to have a chart of how many verified appointments your people bring to you. We will get together at the end of the month and everyone will get a ticket for a scheduled verified appointment, go in a hat, and we're going to draw it out. And I'm going to offer up a free coaching or analysis session with that agent that wins. So I'm giving you a little freebie to pick my brain. We can evaluate your business, talk about fears, whatever. But to get in that contest, you got to go set listing appointments in the next 2 weeks. Got to be verifiable. So make sure that you can verify to your manager that it really took place. And then you'll be notified in 2 weeks who wins. And again, we will have some more. We're going to have more and more webinars that will dig deeper and deeper into skills and techniques. But it all begins with contacting people, setting appointments, and taking control. Any other questions? Mark or Jeff, got any comments or thoughts?
We're going to be doing, so everybody knows, we were going to have Dan come in and meet with us for the next, I think we had him coming in 3 more times this year. With everything being uncertain right now and the fact that we may not be able to get together in a big group, we're going to stick to this format, and we're going to have 4 more of these unless something drastically changes towards the end of the year. We're going to have 4 more of these Zoom calls where Dan's going to be, doing 1 hour bits on the listing. So we're looking at, okay, how do we structure all this around becoming better listing agents? So we're excited to keep exploring this with everybody. We think, Dan's definitely the guy to help us do this. We've really enjoyed our working relationship with him so far, and hopefully you can join us for the upcoming ones as we continue to move forward.
Awesome, guys. Well, guys, thank you. Please go out and make me proud, man. Go get me some appointments. You don't have to attend them, just schedule them, and we'll get a winner end of the month, and then I'll come up with another challenge for next one around.
Dan, can I ask you one question real quick?
Sure.
How do you handle a situation for a listing appointment when the seller wants to sell, but the housing market for them to buy is so difficult for them?
Okay.
So they're very nervous about taking that step to sell and not being able to find another place to go.
That's a
Okay.
good question.
That is an excellent question, and that's a lot of education, Gary. What I do in those scenarios is I explain that in a tough market like this, one option people think is, let's go look at houses. If I go look at houses and my house isn't even on the market, I'm going to be laughed at by anybody that I want to buy. If I put my house on the market and it sells and I can't find my home, I have fear. So I go back to, what is the driving force for the sale? That tells me as a professional, are they going to take the risk? If they don't have strong drivers for the sale, they're going to hesitate. Another way that I can do it is I can say, guys, you can't purchase right now, but would you like me to show you some stuff that's out there just to see if it fits your needs? The worst case scenario for me that always creates a problem is if I try to have a contingency of them finding a home, I'll scare off people wanting to buy that house, because that puts them in the position of not knowing they're going to buy it. So for me, I can't solve that problem in this market. For me, it's all about education. And then depending on your tenacity, Gary, you can go become Laura and tell them, I'll tell you what, guys, let's get your house on the market. If your house doesn't exist, I'll go find it. I'll go knock on doors till I find it. There's little things like that that you can do in those scenarios, but I don't have a silver bullet for that one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, guys, go out, own the day, be thoughtful, and I'll see you next time around.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.